Good afternoon, everybody. I would like to call the meeting of the Municipal Service District Advisory Committee to order. And there's a couple of statements I'd like to make before we go to the roll call. And first of all, we'd like to give our sincere condolences to our Commissioner, Gretchen DePazy, on the death of her mother. We're so sorry about your mom. And then also too on the death of Buzzy Stubbs. Carol Stubbs, of course, was a member, but I would like to just announce that she has submitted her resignation to this board with everything that she's got going on. We certainly understand. I have had the chance to speak to her, and she wants to still be engaged. She's happy to help us in any way, but I did want to let the board know that this will go back to the Board of Aldermen, and they will look underneath the restaurant people who applied. And I believe there were 2 names that are left on this list. So just in the spirit of transparency, one is my husband, Steve Bengal. His name is on that list, and he has denied he would not wish to serve at this time. So you can take that off. He's got enough for listening to me. He doesn't need to listen to me that much more. But so I believe the other name that was on there was Mike Lentz, was the other restaurateur. So I just wanted to advise the board of that. With that being said, would you please take the roll call?
Sure. I do not have the roll call sheet, but I will use this if I miss anybody.
Okay.
Let me know. David Barthol.
Here.
Sabrina Bingo.
Here.
Gretchen DePisa.
Here.
John Haroldson.
Here.
Von Lewis.
Here.
Mickey Miller.
Excused.
Okay. Michael Raines.
Here.
Johnny Robinson.
Here.
Michaela Rose Watson.
Here.
Alderman Brill. Foster Hughes.
Here.
Carol Stubbs.
Actually, no longer be on this.
Okay, sorry. Karen Sullivan.
Here.
And then Alderman Doyle.
We do have a quorum. Okay, we're going to move through this part pretty quick so we can have plenty of time for our presentations today. So next on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the August 20th meeting. And I'm sure everybody has really read through them. So if that be the case, I need a motion to approve.
I move we approve the minutes as presented.
Okay, and a second?
Second.
Okay, Vaughn. So by Gretchen and by Vaughn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, in your packet is the finance report. Kim, I'm going to turn that over to you.
So the first page that you have is at the top it says provisional comparative balance sheet. This takes a look at our assets and liabilities and gives us the net position. It has the 2023 for comparatives, 2024 we are towards the end of our audit, so those numbers should be close to being finalized. This should be pretty accurate. And then we have where we are currently. We have a total net position right now at $2,070,400. If we move on to the details behind that, you'll see in the detailed report of all the transactions. But if you move to the next report, that is a budget to actual across the top as of September 30th. That also has the 2023 actual, 2024 estimate, and then the 2025. In 2024, we added $350,534 to the fund balance, ending with $2,091,031. That carries over to 2025. You've got a total of revenue of $46,056 so far, and expenditures totaling $66,687. Change in net position for this at this time is $20,631 of expenditures over revenue. So your current balance would be $2,070,400. And again, that detail is provided as well for you. So, are there any questions?
I'm just curious, and I know the city does, as this is part of the city, but these extra funds, fund balances are invested, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so we get some, that's where the interest income comes from, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And we actually invest with NC class and then also with NCCMG.
Okay.
I just have one question. When was that parking changed to kiosk parking?
That was changed for the parking lot over beside City Hall. That started in October of 2023,
Oh, okay.
middle of the month.
So then, 'cause I noticed an increase in the parking revenue, so that's why that is.
Yes, so you asked the question, so I'll just let you know in the year that has occurred, we actually generated $3,000 more in income than we normally would with the lease lot. So over $10,000 generated off that versus the $7,000 that we would normally receive.
On the changes in net position, budget, and actual, 2024, the header says estimate. Wouldn't that be actual at this point?
Because I don't change that to actual until we are finalized with our audit and
Understood.
make sure that there's no more entries that the auditor may find.
Got it. Thank you.
Debt service.
And then we have the debt service report, which shows the two loans that are out. We have them paying off in FY 27-28. They both have a total balance of $292,719.70.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for Kim on the financial report? Anyone's questions? Anything? Healthy. I remember the days when we might have had $80,000 in that account, so this is good to see. With that being said, can I have a motion to accept the financial report? Okay. All right, so Johnny and John.
Okay.
All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, thank you for getting through this quickly. All right, as you know, we have broken, we're going to get to our inner core subcommittee reports. As you know, we broke into committees, and I really think it's been great because I got a chance for people to work with one another. I've gotten really good feedback about having the subcommittees, and hopefully this will get us to a point where we can make some decisions. But with that being said, we're going to dive right into the report. So I'm going to start with the trash subcommittee. Or would you rather do it?
Since Michael Lee has her
Yes.
stuff up, so.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
and
no
I'm
problem.
digitally challenged, so I'm up there.
Okay. Okay, so for the viewers at home, we're going to start with the Beautification Subcommittee, and that was made up of Michael Lee and Gretchen and Carol. Okay, take it away.
Okay, so we walked this whole inner core and so we're kind of beginning here at Bear Plaza. You can see the kiosk, and we were thinking it would be good to create a second one over on Craven Street to continue it. And here you're looking at the left side of the inner core. Here's the middle part. We were thinking it would be nice to brick this whole, most of it, keep all of the landscaping, and then the bricks create like a, what's it called, a table? What was it?
It's called
It's a sort of a rise in the brick. It's called,
I think it's a traffic cam.
we used a different term on what it is.
it's
Speed bump.
A speed table, thank you.
Speed
Table
it's larger and you can drive over it.
Yeah, so create this area as a speed table.
Yeah, traffic table, yeah.
And then, of course, city property stops at the brick wall, or that cement wall just to the left of that tree. So, and then again, we're getting closer to the tree, but these little rises here, the curbs, all of that would come out, it would be bricked. And then you can see here the sidewalk as you're getting towards Craven Street. And we wanted to extend the sidewalk from where it is to the left and take all those parking spaces that are to the left and create a brick, walkway. And again, the speed table, this would be sort of rounded out with bricks. And as cars would be coming around over here towards Morgan's, and you can see that arrow that directs cars to turn to the left, we would want them to go the other direction. So turn to the right, go around, and eliminate this arrow, because that would be where the bricks would be going all the way to Craven Street. And here you'd be driving in here, so you'd be coming in here next to Morgan's, drive up, all of that would be parking. So I'm trying to go fast because I know I only have 10 minutes here. Okay, so here we are. So we're coming up here. This could all be paid parking, so you could, go by the hour for this parking. And I guess I'm getting a little confused here on what's, so the parking, the sidewalk to the, make that larger. Let me see what else I got here. Okay, so here we are on Craven Street, where we would put that second kiosk. And I
Talking
think
about like the gazebo.
the gazebo,
yes.
the
Okay,
gazebo, because I think that would also open up Craven Street for people to want to explore Craven Street a little better. And here the sidewalk would be from where it is over to those parking spaces, and then over here by the polo wall, that would be more landscaping, and we could do like a little playground or something for people. And of course, we're coming in the other side. You can see how narrow that sidewalk is now. And this is how ugly it looks. It's just really ugly. I mean, it's really hard to walk that thing. And you can see the tree, just how beautiful the tree is. I mean, it would be nice if we had a big, wide brick pathway so that we could just highlight that tree. And again, all of that would disappear because it would all be bricked. And from the other direction, as you're heading towards Bear Plaza to Craven Street, it could just be a nice bricked area over there. And then, okay, so as you're coming around Morgan's, instead of turning to the left, we would make cars turn to the right and go around the other direction. And just a little wider view of what's going on over there. And then you can see all this space where it'd be easy to turn around as you're heading towards exiting. And then you're getting back towards the speed table, which is where Bear Plaza would empty into that big tree. And we're just moving on forward. And here, this is a little bottleneck right here. Of course, this would go away. Oh yeah, my arrow does show. Okay, so that would be gone because it would be bricked. And then you just exit, go over here. This other dumpster is over here by Mitchell Hardware. And yeah, this would just be all gone. And we could do some sort of a brick circle around that big tree, which would be really pretty to decorate the brick in a specific way. Yeah, exiting out this way. And it would be great to see all this gone because this is just really ugly. I guess there used to be trees there. I don't know what happened there. So anyway. You want to add anything, Rose?
Yeah, I was just going to highlight, so a couple of things that we were tasked with looking at specifically, as she mentioned, the walkway. So key thing here would be we would want to essentially match the size of the walkway from Bear Plaza all the way down to Craven. And then
that really is, that's a beautiful view shed. And you can see with the tree, it really is.
right, yeah. We were also tasked with looking at lighting and signage, and so a recommendation was to try and match the lighting that's used on Craven Street as much as possible. Then we were looking for the location for the art sculpture. If we create a second gazebo, we thought that would be an appropriate place to potentially put the art sculpture for Greg Smith in that area there. And then screening of the compactor or whatever the trash would be there looked at screens. We were also tasked with, or suggested to talk to Development Services to see if that was going to be impacting HPC guidelines at all. So we had a very good meeting with Matt Shelley and walked the area there. HPC is concerned with changes to buildings or the historical aspect of a property. A parking lot does not have a historical aspect to it. We are not talking about changing any buildings there. So he said adding a second gazebo area, covered bench area, that would not be a problem. The only thing we could not do would be if we wanted to put something up on the wall of the Polo's property there, you could not paint the brick and you could not cover up any architectural aspects to that building, but it was recommending if we wanted to do murals or something like that, you put them on canvas so they would be removable. And from there, the other thing he did point out is there is a height limit for fencing or screening. It's a 6 feet maximum for brick or wood or whatever type of fencing you're using. If you want to go taller than that, you would need to use landscaping, was his recommendation. And then on terms of lighting, he was recommending using a specific type of globe bulb that shines down so that instead of shining up into the sky, the light would shine down onto the walkway itself. I'm not familiar with that, but I suppose that's something that
Would be something that
people would be aware of. I'm trying to think. The other thing we talked about were the sandwich boards, because I know that was part of signage and whatnot. He said signage is related to zoning, so that's not an HPC thing. But we talked about putting in some kind of a permanent structure where people could put advertisements on as opposed to so many sandwich boards, and potentially one in each of the gazebos. And he made a good comment, we should put in like an interactive map on there showing where things are.
I think there is some, just to update a little bit, I know TDA and we're looking at some things with Swiss Fair and the Downtown Business Council also for some kind of electronic wayfinding where, you know, you go to some cities, it says you are here.
Right, exactly.
You could tap on it and it would talk to you about it. And the only thing I would say about the sandwich boards, they are unsightly, but they're basically, they're not advertisements, they're telling you that business is there.
Right.
You know, and I think that would be
Better than the sandwich boards?
no, I'm just saying, I like the kiosk. I don't like, but trying to say we would get rid of sandwich boards, we could all advertise in one place. I don't know that the merchants would buy that because they're saying, hello, my shop's open. They're putting a sandwich board out in front of their shop saying, my store's open. I mean, I'd rather get rid of all of them, but I know how people feel
But
about
that
it.
was, I mean, just a discussion there that we had regarding that. The issue with the sandwich boards is they're supposed to be directly in front of your, and you're only allowed one.
Right.
But that's a zoning issue. That's not something that they deal with. I think those were the other.
We did talk about some sort of kiosk over at the farmer's market as well, so there would possibly be 3.
Well, we're going to stay confined to
Well, I was just
the
saying, right
inner
now our
core.
focus is
Right.
just the inner
So,
core.
inner core.
Yeah, I think that was it. So,
Comments or questions? Go ahead.
Can I ask a question, Nick? Can you go back to, just go back to Craven Street, where we see the Craven Street, the wide image with the tree in the center? So is it your recommendation to have the potential new gazebo match the old gazebo?
Yeah,
Okay, all right.
well, or be slightly smaller.
just
Okay.
because we already have that for uniformity.
Okay. Let's see here.
The other picture
Yeah,
you
we'll see
had,
it.
looking from Craven Street.
Yeah, looking from
that-
Craven Street.
The
The other
ugly,
direction, yeah.
Yes.
And so I want to make sure that I understand. So everything on the left, one is from the right edge of the sidewalk all the way over to the end of the parking lot lines on this
Here
first thing.
to
That
here.
would be basically brick
Yes.
walkway, so to speak.
Yes.
And then from there over, that's landscaping. That correct?
Correct.
So
right.
we're getting rid of all that parking. I think what will help everyone is we can come up with a rendering of what I've just heard from you, so everyone can actually see this.
Right.
So,
Yes.
and so we'll just get with our staff to do this, and we've heard everything you said on the tape, so we'll go back and
We
we
need
can have
to wait to
that.
hear what the parking people and the
Yeah,
And
that's right,
access
that's
people,
right,
because
that's right.
now we've got our this
Our
together.
suggestion.
Yeah.
Oh, the other thing Matt Shelley did say is we have to save the landscaping. So in all cases, we cannot remove landscaping, so everything, we should try to maintain all the landscaping.
Keep the trees.
Keep the trees.
Well, I can understand the trees, but like those brick,
Oh, no, he's talking about the trees.
Okay, I had a question about that. I like the idea of keeping the big, live
tree.
trees. But the crepe myrtles, they suggested keeping those. 'Cause
Yeah.
They kind of,
Great myrtles.
yeah, they don't look good, that one does, but some of those don't look good because they're just really not been maintained.
So
If you're gonna-
there is a tree ordinance in the city, and none of those trees are deemed hazardous or dead or dying, so that's the only time the city will take a tree out, if it's dead, literally.
Well, my point was if you're gonna expand the sidewalk, you're gonna have a tree in the middle of the sidewalk.
Right.
So can you relocate them or replace them?
Well, I think you could then, put benches or something like that around them to make it so it's more
Okay.
interactive and so you can keep the landscaping. And that's kind of the thought, or, yeah.
And you have this really large tree that's over here at the end of Bear Plaza that you don't really see it so well, but it kind of creates this little canopy. So as you're going over the speed table to, continue towards Mitchell Hardware, you're kind of going under that little canopy of those two trees.
Oh, yeah,
Which
those-
are kind of you don't even really see that tree.
Yeah, those trees are great.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
I got two other questions if I can.
Oh, absolutely.
How many parking spaces, you said that one side of that parking lot, the city's parking lot would be removed?
Right.
So only half of the existing parking would remain, is
It's
that?
not
Well,
quite.
that's
half.
our recommendation, yeah. I'm not sure how many spaces that would impact.
Probably, I think there's, what did I say, 10 on each side, Foster?
There's a little more than 10.
There
Yeah.
may be
20 more.
Because is it 20? Because I know that Morgan's has two sides, and I thought they had 20 spaces, so maybe they had 40
10,
spaces.
yeah.
10, it's either 10 and 10 or 40. But I think it's,
So you'd have this side for parking, so you'd come in and you could park here,
11 aside.
11 aside.
okay, but then on the other side, we'd take away 11, I guess.
Plus
Well, I'm
11 at the
hearing
wall.
two
or
different
just-
things there. So are you
Yes.
saying that there would,
Yeah.
are you totally closing off the one? Well, first of all, that's
Yes.
not your responsibility.
No, that was just a recommendation that we were making.
I think it would be good to close off the whole other side, because now when we think about all of our Very Merry events and everything, they spill out into Middle Street. Now if we continue all the way to Craven Street, now it's spilling into the rest of Bear Plaza, which will be extended to Craven Street.
So you are eliminating one side of the parking?
We would like to.
That's-
That was our
And-
suggestion, yeah.
And there was a suggestion that we would even have room for something like a merry-go-round, which would be really fun. And then Matt Shelley said if we did sort of a playground idea, it could be like rubber mats or whatever, so that people could, so then now you've got family-friendly kind of things where kids are safer because they're inside that inner core versus hanging out on Middle Street, for Santa and et cetera, so.
My third question is, if you close off that, let's say half of that parking lot, that's the only city-owned public access in and out of the inner core. How would the traffic get out of the inner core?
So it would go from here, all the way to the trash cans, and then it would, continue here, and then it would turn to the right to go towards the truck. So this arrow goes away because now all
Right,
traffic.
it goes around, but where does it come out?
It goes out, back over towards it curves around this huge area to those condos that are in the back.
Besides Mitchell.
Aside from, yeah,
It's-
That's not,
Over to Mitchell's, right. See, then it's gonna go under those trees. So
that's
they're gonna-
private property.
So there's
They're
nothing,
already driving on it.
so there's nothing.
We
Everybody-
permit people to drive.
Today they are.
Yeah,
And everybody's still driving on it. I
Yeah.
know,
Well, yeah,
but
but
Tomorrow
they
it could be
didn't-
sold,
they
it could be
could-
gone.
or it could have a gate on it tomorrow.
At any time in the future, you're correct, on any of those pieces of property adjacent to the city, someone could put a wall, a fence,
Building.
a gate, or whatnot. Yeah.
And
Is
I
it-
had thought that we were confining ourselves to
The
the
city-owned property, yes.
Because this has been attempted before, and this is the proverbial herding of cats, that there are like 20 different property owners back there, and by rerouting the traffic as you have, you're probably involving dozen or so of those, or 8 of those, which has been a problem all along.
Okay, so what's to keep the polos from building a wall,
Not a
right?
darn thing.
Done nothing
Right there,
darn
and
thing.
then no one can, and now you're completely blocked off.
Well, that's why they've
from
already
That's
put, they've put speed bumps there, they've put theirs, because that is their
Right.
property.
So, but if we go, well, going the other way would be a good thing. Good.
I mean, I think, and I'm winding back to a couple of meetings ago, I think that collectively, we might all agree that would be a great solution, but that has been attempted to be sold to the property owners that would be involved in that solution. And while we may agree on that, the property owners have not agreed on that. And so while we might think it'd be lovely to go, you know, across the Polos, across, you know, Mitchell's, across Michael's property, we don't have the authority to do that, which is why we were confining this to the city-owned property for the time being, with the hope or expectation that in the future, perhaps people will see this as a good thing, and we can expand the footprint. That was,
Johnny, but Johnny has come.
I like the brick idea, number one. That sounds really cool, but also the gazebo sounds really cool. One other thing, looking at the satellite imaging, towards the Polo's property nearest to Craven Street, that's the handicap park. So if we got rid of that whole side, we're losing ADA parking, and then we'd have to put it on the northern side, over at Morgan's, I guess, or it's just something to throw on the radar too.
All things that we really need to look at and consider, but what I'm gonna do is hold some thoughts. Do we have any more questions specific to really the walkway, the beautification, the gazebo? I have to admit is awesome. That really will anchor it and be beautiful and be welcoming, and it'll be welcoming. People will want to walk that way. But does anybody have anything else? Because I'm gonna then go to you. I'm gonna save you for last now. And I'm gonna go to y'all because it seems like this is time into it.
well, and actually, I'm going to hope that David can pull some of his
Pictures.
or rendering drawings up. But yeah, the one thing I had to say, which David may have covered this in his committee also, but I think it's very appropriate that you all did. I might think we would want to challenge Matt on the 6-foot height restriction on screening. And I'm saying that because if you're trying to hide the dumpsters are taller than 6 feet, and I would dare say that HPC would be friendlier to their neighbors in approving a taller fence than in not approving it.
I would agree,
That's
but
okay.
that's really up to the
Well,
HPC.
no, I
But
understand that.
if you go back there, you look, there are other dumpsters that are hidden, and sure enough, there's the 6-foot fence, and then it still
Yeah.
stands another
So-
4 feet above it.
And that's not a decision that we can make, but I think that's a request we can put to the aldermen to make to
That's true.
HPC. And there are ways to make exceptions or waivers, I believe.
That's correct.
Okay, so MetroNet put some big, massive thing back there behind Tom's Coins and Antiques. Did you remember?
Oh, yeah.
And it was approved for 6 feet, and the thing is like
Oh,
2
it's-
stories tall.
yeah, it's
You know,
huge.
they put this big cement pad, and then they put this massive, whatever it is, what is
How did
it?
that
It's
get approved?
a cell phone tower
Yeah,
satellite
okay.
mainframe.
But it's not Metronet, I think it's
It's
Brightspeed.
yeah, it's
There you
it's
go.
something
Oh, is
else.
it Brightspeed?
It's one of
Yeah.
those-
There's no
but-
fence or screen around
No.
it, so that's probably where they got.
But they were held to the 6-foot thing, but then it's there, so it's there, so, yeah.
I think they ended up having to do that for flooding, but that's just my opinion, my educated guess.
Okay, I'm going to move along. Anything else?
Um,
Guys, thank you. I'll go.
Would you like me to put my images up so you can use those for talking?
Sure.
Yeah.
And it's okay, I might actually walk up there and use it almost like a...
Now we'll see my technical.
We're going to switch now, and we're going to go to
Your place,
This
right?
is how it is
To the
now,
parking group.
like that, and that's what they were both for.
But it's all right.
These came from you.
I know, I do. I didn't realize that picture
That's
of
a
Michael
single
Lee.
page that hasn't been broken.
The picture that you have, that view to that tree, someone needs to
What a
paint that.
beautiful tree. And
I know,
then
nobody- I've never noticed that
signs hanging out there.
before.
And I walk that almost every day. I go down that sidewalk, but I've never noticed it till I took that picture. And that's what a visitor sees. We don't see
That's
it.
true.
That way, awesome.
Yeah, it would be.
Oh, yeah, because it would be beautiful, really
The
highlight the
tree
tree in
is
the
just
center
like
there.
gorgeous,
Put
yeah.
benches around it.
Take a step further, area.
And I love the idea of the gazebo being there, because that would highlight Greg's sculpture too, to start the
It would,
walkway.
it
People
would.
would notice it, and to have a bench
It'd be
there to sit
protected.
by it. Oh, it'd be beautiful. Pavers? Yeah.
Brick would probably look better.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't.
Well, the
Public Works
thought was
doesn't
to
like the
try and
pavers.
It was to try and match what was in.
They have all that old
Back
brick. I
closet.
want you to use the old brick.
Yeah.
We got all that brick from
Very
under.
low design.
I know, I do that when I ask questions, but no, all that beautiful brick came from under the streets. So it's our brick.
That's true.
I'd like to use that.
Yeah,
I
it
would
would be
love to
really
use
nice.
it too, so.
Yeah, I'm into restoration.
I guess there's no way to buy some of that property back there to create an access. I mean,
They would have to agree
Yeah,
and
anything is possible.
so that you know, take it up to their grasp,
Yeah.
right? And that's just, you know, we take, you know, we buy those pieces.
But that's been the whole issue from day one.
Well, has anybody put a price on just those pieces back there? Just the paved areas? Have there been no prices put on them?
It's not a matter of putting a price on it, it's the matter of the willingness of the property owner to
To
sell.
sell.
Some nice prices.
Yeah. You know, 30 years ago, when nobody was downtown, everybody was willing to give their stuff to the city, and what the city should have taken it, and they didn't. They performed leases, and what they did is they signed a lease, which was a 20-year lease, and then when the lease expired, or 10-year lease, then downtown was starting to come alive, and nobody wanted, everybody wanted their property.
You have to.
Is it a Bluetooth?
Okay, I
Maybe I
have,
can just connect on my
I
iPad.
have an Apple, so
I
mine's
think it's this
different.
Wi-Fi
Okay, are you
It's the
Windows?
QR code.
No, my Apple.
Okay, so you have to go to your control center. You go to your control, which is, and you have to go to screen mirroring.
Okay, is it Bluetooth or Wi-Fi?
It's not either of those.
John, I think you can
It
just
is,
hit that, take a picture of that
The
QR
QR.
code.
Oh, okay, yeah,
There we
yeah.
go, I found it, John.
Okay.
And you have to do mirror screening RM room.
And Michael Lee said she wasn't technical, look at her.
Or would I do it?
This morning, so,
No.
I'm not sure.
I love that one.
Meeting RM share. Meeting room share is what I have to put on, and that's what got me there.
Oh, they can call me back.
Oh, they give me such a hard time.
We give it a hard time.
But Apple,
And I got it from a little icon up here.
take advantage of their
See,
people. I
meeting,
can't-
there you go, meeting rooms, right there, meeting RM
Yeah,
share. And the password is,
It's on that.
Click more with that exclamation point.
it's QU exclamation point. Capital Z, exclamation, QU exclamation point, CK, capital V, IEW.
It didn't show us in North Carolina. It's on the national election.
But I'm not sure I need that, you know.
All right, I connected mine.
And I think there's some other budgets I went through.
Yeah.
Because I'm one of those, I always read every single
You know,
page,
you
trying
shouldn't
to
have
back
to need
into
the
the
password
numbers.
because,
When I first came
you know
on
why,
board in
because it's
2009,
public, because the public room,
department
you're in here, so you should.
ordered a minimum of 3 to 5 Sunday subscriptions. Every department. I was like, you got to be kidding me. I said, why can't, main office get like this 5 subscriptions, and then maybe, why, you don't even know, because they were trying to sell it, because they had to add.
It's on your PC.
And then the other thing that drives me nuts is all the.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
There we go.
but all the,
Okay, sorry for the delay. This is a drawing that we all got courtesy of Dave back in, at a meeting back in May, May 7th, if you want to look at it later. And this is very valuable for the parking discussion because it shows the existing right here, and this is how I came up with the 22. It's 22 per side.
44.
Yeah. So, I happen to have had a sneak preview of what the trash committee is going to recommend, and that is that the trash will be recommended to go in essentially where these 4 spaces are. We have 2 different sort of suggestions on how to address the parking. We very much like this idea of having a service strip along the side of the walkway. This walkway is substantially larger than the existing one, which, as was mentioned, is pretty nasty and inadequate. But we like the idea of that loading zone for delivery trucks and getting them off of Craven Street and allowing for deliveries to the restaurants and things there. We think that was a great recommendation. We think we should keep the parking here. If we want to keep circulation on the city property, you really kind of have to. Which brings me to sort of the 2 alternate concepts that we have. The first one is with the trash compactor located here, if we are constrained to just the city property, then we would not be reliant upon the traffic circulation around the private property behind Morgan's. And so that means we would have to leave this opening here in order to circulate the traffic around. If we feel like we can reach an agreement with the property, with the 3, maybe 4, 5, and then here we're back to the cats. If we can leave that there, we would recommend extending the island back, leaving that walkway the entire distance, removing this, as I think was suggested by, but keeping the single lane exit. So it's sort of a hybrid between these 2, depending upon the perspective of the adjacent property owners and whether we can leave the traffic flow as it is now and fill this in, or and fill that in, or if we would have to leave this open to remain 100% on the city property. But we very much like the idea of a single row of parking here, and we also, if you can extend that, you pick up additional spaces. So you're not losing 25% of your parking. You're losing more, like maybe 17%, because you will pick up approximately, let's say 4 spaces here and about 3 to 4 spaces on the Polo side. So again, with the dumpster location presumed to be here, can close this in and continue traffic circulation this way, eliminating this. Otherwise, we'd have to leave that open for circulation.
I like the idea of eliminating that jut out there too. I like coming
This-
back, because some of the problem is going to be is we're going to have to relocate the 4 parking spaces that are partially on the city property. So we have the condo owners.
These here?
Yes, see, half of that parking space belongs to the city, and I believe we want to put the compactor, and I'll wait till Dave discusses that, but if we push it back, maybe by having extra spaces along the Polo side
just-
there.
Judging just by this, I think you could push those back. That's going to be about 10 feet and still have adequate circulation, even if you push, because you'd be only like about equivalent to there.
Okay.
But I think you can do that regardless. So again,
And that sidewalk goes away, right? 'Cause you're gonna-
this sidewalk goes like, yes, absolutely.
And the other side too, on both sides.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is where the
Well, that's where it's
dumpster, and again, I would hope that for beautification purposes, that they would allow a taller screen, but that's going to be presumably a brick or some other material screen.
You recommended a specific tree that grows really tall that's like a bottle rocket tree, and so we could plant a bunch of those around
It's a
it.
type of holly.
That,
Yes, and it's green all year round, and it doesn't shed.
But you're looking at landscaping, it's gonna be a lot wider than a brick wall.
yeah, it's going to become a function of footprint.
Right.
Maintenance on that.
So if we extended that walkway all the way through so that we could almost meet up to the Bear Plaza side, it would come, we could still do those traffic bumps or whatever, what did you call those?
I think
Speed
that-
tables.
Speed tables.
I think the recommendation, as I understood it, would be the brick would continue, and then you'd have like the speed table here.
Actually, it could still be with brick, it's just, it's a wider.
Right. So the cars then, I want to make sure I understand that, then would
They drive
come
over.
down, around, and the only, so you couldn't take a right then where you take it now, you'd have to come all the way around.
Okay, it's a hybrid of these two. So
Okay.
on this side, it remains much like this, but these
Okay.
4 spaces become the dumpster. So the cars coming in would
No.
go right, as the Beautification Committee recommended, and come around. This would be tightened up because these 4 spots would slide down. You come around this way,
Narrow.
and now you go over to this side. Your dumpster's here, so that you come around and, no, sorry, you come around this way
And then
then
and
out
drive
that
out this way. So this,
Oh.
I got a little confused there.
Right, right.
Right, I see.
Yeah.
And so we would lose basically 11 parking spaces, but we did say something that we would just have that temporary.
We would only lose, we would
Well, if you
lose 11 if we have to
The
do the
loading zone.
circulation this way. If we go with the circulation coming around, then
then you actually
just
gain.
roughly speaking, trying to continue this line across, we gain 1, 2, 3, let's call it 3 spaces here, because remember, your dumpster is going to be located there. So you might pick up 3 spaces here, so now you're down to losing 7, and then you pick up, let's say, another 3 spaces here, so now you're down to losing 4. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
As long as we can provide ingress and egress to the public portion of that, we can work with the property owners on the other side,
Well,
and they would still have ingress and egress.
and I think this is a little bit what was being alluded to before, and if we can get consensus among these 4, then I think clearly it's preferable to extend the island and get extra parking spaces and have it, more attractive brick running all the way through. I don't think the city necessarily wants to play hardball, but just the same way the Polos or someone else could put up a wall, the city could put up a wall, and these people could be unable to access their parking. So there is incentive for them to play ball, if the lawyers want to get involved.
No, I agree. It would just be permanent easements. All they would have to be is easements to cross the property. Now,
And they all need access,
correct.
there's storefronts, or
Right.
maybe like a better word, but there's parking, there's
And
storefronts.
this Federal Alley, I believe, is owned by the city,
That's correct.
but it's nowhere near wide
not
enough
wide
for
enough to
vehicular
people
traffic.
Correct.
I mean, not even close. So, yeah, these people, if they want to keep access to their parking, that's going to have to be left open anyhow. So hopefully it wouldn't be a big hurdle.
Let me throw this up there also, just try to give you some imagery.
Yeah, so imagine this row of parking would disappear. You have a wider walkway and a loading unloading zone that runs essentially the width that was proposed.
Right.
But you would have a portion of it loading unloading. So you have the brick walkway going all the way back to here. The traffic would circle around like this and then come through.
Right there.
This is that curved walkway.
Right, that would be-
That goes away, so the traffic could come around this way and in a line. that shadow is very deceptive, but this traffic pattern here just continues around and leaves the trees unharmed.
I
But
like
you're
the
also-
idea of more walkway than roadway.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why I said, if we can keep this portion, it's really, you got 1, 2, 3, 4 property owners. If those property owners are in agreement to leave that the way it is, and again, they could be in a world of hurt if they don't agree, and the city says, fine, we'll put a wall up.
Foster, you know, one time Scott told me that it was a prescriptive
That's correct.
easement there. And so, but I would feel better if we had drawn up easement, you know, permanent easements from the property owners. I think that would help us
Clarity.
better. For you, those of you, a prescriptive easement means that it's been used so many times as, you know, a thoroughfare that it in essence becomes a legal easement.
Are you recommending that the traffic be one-way?
Yes.
Yeah, it would have to be.
Yeah, it would have to be.
And it is now. I mean, it is
Well,
now.
not always. I mean, well, they don't go out that way, but I do
It's
see
meant
in
to be
front,
now.
It
saying-
should be.
at the end of Bear
The
Plaza,
angular-
people will go both directions.
Yeah.
But for the loading zone, would they have enough room to go one way, or they have to come back in, basically?
Well, I think, okay, I don't know what size trucks they have. I mean, are we talking big 18-wheelers? They're gonna have a terrible time, you know, looping around regardless of what's.
Would a trash truck be able to meet the radius, coming back around the tree to get back out on the south part of that? That's my big.
They do now. I mean, I don't know what.
Yeah, with the proposed plan, would they have to be able to take that?
But they come
truck?
at 5:30 in the morning anyway, so.
Be less cars.
So Foster, your questions, would they be able to
In
make
that,
the turn
that area,
here?
that's correct, yes.
I would think so. It's a 90-degree turn.
Can I just add something here? So as you, if the flow of the traffic came around, like what we had suggested, this property, is this all Brody property, this whole piece?
Yes.
So that's one person. And then who is this?
Well, actually, the traffic flow, I believe, comes over here and more like around this.
Over
way.
here where Mitchell's is.
Yeah, so you have,
So we have,
You're now looking at it.
so we got Brody, can you make it?
this is a,
Sorry,
Just
zoom in.
wondering.
no, this is a static picture.
Yeah, he can't.
He
get
can't
that.
scroll down. Oh, he
There
can.
you go.
Okay, there we go. Okay, so this is one owner, and then there's this owner. There's only two owners
But-
to get out that way.
Actually,
Well,
I don't know what all that is.
I think
That
this
is
is,
Johnson's property there.
well, over here.
Yes, but back behind it, it goes all the
We
way
can't
back.
take
But
these
through
trees
the
out.
tree, right, through the trees, this is all Brody, and then there's
You can't
the,
take that tree out, so they can't drive that way.
oh, then it's gotta go to Johnson's and then over, so three property
Or-
owners to get out.
Well, and whose is this? You'd have to either.
Polo's.
That's
Polo's.
Johnson, Polo.
No, that's a Polo, that's somebody else.
John-
Oh, Polo
Johnson, oh, sorry, Mitchell.
And Mitchell's. So, yeah, so we got Brody, and then we got Mitchell's, and then
Michael.
Michael. Three owners
Well,
to
I
go
mean,
that way.
You're a,
Yeah, but they're
that's if
harder
there's
owners
space.
than the other side, no disrespect.
Yeah, I'm
Steve
one
Mason.
of, I'm one of 4 of the ZNR associates. And people cut through our parking lot, I understand that, but we have a sign up that basically we permit people to, so to address the constricted easement. That's prescriptive, yeah, that's what the attorney told us to do, so that we would never address with a prescriptive easement. So that sign will be removed tomorrow and gates put up, and we'll cut through our parking lot.
And I
We don't
think
wanna
we would have
do
to
that.
look and see if it could come this way, or if it would have to go this way.
Yeah.
Which side of that tree, you might have to go that way, which involves
But
multiple.
still have the parking. I'll be honest, you know, if you want to go to a merry-go-round, I love that. I love that what it's called, but I would put it at Union Point. We've got beautiful Union Point Park. People love it. They screamed about it. It's our park. I don't think we need any more.
No, I understand, but it's
more
just
parking.
that we have so much activity going on with very merry events and all of these events, and things spill out into Middle Street. This way, if it goes all the way to Craven, we've created a
but it's
way
would
to
be
easily explore Craven Street, so I think we've
To bring the two streets
added
together.
more walking experiences to exploring Craven Street, so. It'll be more fun to hang out inside, deeper inside.
And more questions for John, as far as what he's,
John.
Mayor Johnny.
I mean,
And then Mickey was part of their team as well.
I mean, it's kind of a chicken and egg thing too, because when we put the trash, that totally impacts the actual parking.
Okay.
Set fees associated with it.
So let's go to our head honcho over here, the trash man. You know that song, The Candy Man? We can sing The Trash Man. And that committee was made up of Vaughn and Dave and Michael.
And Dave, thank you for your graphic,
Sure.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Well, I have a bunch of exhibits here, and I think what the exhibits do are highlight the complexity of the problem. And the first one, so Karen provided me the data from Swiss Bear regarding the trash. So what I wanted to do, and I know you can't read any of this, but what I did was pull the current tax records as of August, and I tried to reconcile the trash information that Karen provided with the current records, and then organize it in sort of a block type of an arrangement. And I also have that spreadsheet in a separate document so it can be, so it's readable. And I added the notes that she had on that spreadsheet, but it was basically from 2019, so it's old information, and it kind of highlighted that there are some inconsistencies with how the trash is handled, so that would need to be we need to get a handle on that. Okay. So I basically broke it down into the north part, which is Pollock, north, middle, south middle, Craven, North Craven, and South Craven. So not to say that that's how it should be done, but just I wanted to try to add some kind of order to the confusion. And then there's the spreadsheet. And then here, what I did was tried to highlight, well, what are those properties that have transferred since 2019? So you can see we have the yellow is indicating the new owners since 2019. Okay. And then here, what I did was the GIS records have a land use code, and the red are either city-owned or they're vacant land, and then the yellow is indicating residential, and where you see a slash, that's where we have a residential and a commercial type of business. I didn't get down into the restaurants and so forth, but it does indicate that on the spreadsheet. And one thing that it highlighted to me was that just the tax records don't get into the granularity of the information that we would probably have to go to. For example, there might be some commercial properties on here that also are renting out space for residential, where you have apartments above, and it really is not necessarily a condo, but it might not be reflected on here as such. So we really need to find out more information on that. And then here's the final slide basically is the city-owned property in the inner core, showing where we feel like the compactor should be located, general location, and then a list of Vaughn came up with these, which is wonderful, the recommendations. And I can show that closer. Where we have the compactor, the location, the brick enclosure, and Vaughn mentioned the 6 foot also. And I think it's pretty obvious that it would have to be higher than 6 feet to really enclose that and make it more appealing. And then, of course, the overall layout is going to be dependent upon how all these different parts come together with the traffic circulation. We also have the utilities that we have to worry about, the storm sewer, the water, electric, and so forth. Access, mentioned having, if we do go with the trash compactor, having a code, rotating that periodically. Vaughn also brought up a good point that we have these event venues like Stanley Hall and the Isaac Taylor Garden, where they have different higher attendance use, higher trash generation, and so forth for different times. And that would have to be factored in.
That's a good point.
We did not meet with GFL again because there's so many things that need to be vetted out before going to that next step. But it does seem like we do need some focus on that trash and cleanliness, and it was brought up previously that maybe the MSD could fund a dedicated city staff person to focus on the inner core and well, not the inner core, but MSD, and they would also address inner core concerns where Public Works isn't called all the time to come out, and staff is being diverted that should be used elsewhere. I think this is probably the biggest takeaway, that we really need a survey of those property owners and come up with some type of a survey which includes your current use, if it's a restaurant. I learned this term, what is it, the services and turnover, something like that, right? What is that?
Table turn?
Yeah, I mean, those factors that go into how much waste is being generated,
Right.
and Vaughn came up with a formula also that would be good to consider. But that survey could also, now listening to the other ad hoc committees talk, could also ask, are you willing to cooperate in this and grant some sort of a perpetual easement that could allow for the effective flow of traffic and use, and to see something like this come to fruition. And maybe that's where a good rendering could be presented as part of that. This is what the concept is. Here's what we'd like to do. We would like your cooperation. Are you willing to cooperate?
Well, and with that, if you're going to send out something like this is ultimately what we'd like to do, et cetera, you could say though, but there will be changes to the city-owned property regardless of whether you're supporting this or not. I mean, if that is going to happen, I mean, I think that may hopefully make people play ball a little bit more. We are going to be changing the city-owned portion, so we would like your support to help us.
My only suggestion, and I'm going to base it on experience, because we've sat through, I don't know, a half dozen or more of these meetings where we invited all the property owners. They got pretty heated. And I think people feed off of people sometimes. So my recommendation would be a one-on-one, I mean, it would be up to city staff, or a couple of residents or owners, property owners at a time, coming to a meeting saying, look, we want to make some changes back here, this is what we're doing, tell us about your trash, where does your trash go now, or whatever, whoever we decide to do that thing. But I think it needs, and John, correct me, or I don't know, Johnny, if you participated, I know you did, John, in these meetings, and they really got almost out of control. And that's why we could never get anything, because you had one group sitting over here and another group sitting over here, and
People
it got
hear
hard.
what they're gonna lose, they don't hear what they're gonna gain.
Right. And sometimes on a one-on-one discussion, you get more information, it just seems to be a calmer, and it's more personal. You're talking to them. Tell me what your concerns are. What's going on here? Where do you take your trash? Do you want it picked up more often? Would you be amenable to a code now to put your trash in? These are the kind of things. I'm afraid if we sent out a mailer or an email, we might get a small percentage of responses, because people, don't tend to do that. But that one-on-one,
get a lot.
and it's important that we talk to everybody back there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very important. So, we might pick a meeting date, or we might send something out and somebody's gone for a couple of months, or they're traveling or whatever, because of the residential population there. And we do have businesses, and to me, that's the important part that we have to satisfy in talking to the businesses.
Well, I think there's also the issue too, you've got property owners, but then you have the businesses are leasing from the
Correct.
property owners, and both of them need to be a part of the discussion.
Correct. That's very, very true. Vaughn, with you being back there, would you agree with that? Or?
Oh, yeah, I'd agree with that.
So that would be the only thing I would say on that. I think it needs to be personal contact, 2 at the time at most, but getting that we have to do this. I think we've all decided that trash compactor, we know there's a lot of trash back there. I think that's important. And then a GFL or somebody could help us decide, a restaurant ultimately is going to pay more for trash than a resident. And the Stanley Hall people and Isaac Taylor, because they're going to only dump every now and then, but large volumes, there needs to be a rate for them. So, we need to make it accordingly.
I mean, you have different restaurants too. You have some that are half the services of the other restaurants, being just evening or, 5 days a week versus 7 and lunch.
Right. And, Pepsi store, we dump back there, and you wouldn't believe the amount of trash we have, just because, first of all, boxes, my case is a Pepsi, and they're we have a lot of cardboard, but we also, people come in and drinks, and, I probably saw, 5,000 people come to my store on Saturday. It was crazy. But, we generate a lot of trash for a little footprint.
Yeah.
And I think it's just the kind of business that you have. The Carolina Creations, they're going to generate much more cardboard than they are trash.
Right. And food waste too is
Correct,
another point.
yes.
I don't think we got to the point about the dumpster on Michael's property too, if you want
No, go ahead.
to continue with it. We had suggestion for the Zaytoon Rains dumpster was to keep the dumpster there that's currently on private property and used as such, but maybe provide signage from the MSD stating no food waste dumping, so we can keep it strictly with those few businesses and route the food waste to the larger compactor that is dumped more
So
frequently.
you would require then, I just want to make sure I understand, like the restaurants on that side, which was the north side, I think, so it would be Ratty and MJ's and Pinky's, you would require them to dump in this.
The main dumpster.
In the main dumpster, okay.
For food waste.
Because that's not what they're currently doing, is that correct, Michael?
No, they're using the dumpster that's in Zaytoon Range or the ZNR parking lot.
No food, oh.
Yeah.
But I think the issue was they weren't originally allowed to do that. I think it's just happened by just, happenstance.
It's the
that
closest
happened.
one, and they're going to dump it.
But
in the
at least
closest-
signage, can help
Yeah.
Michael when he comes out and says, hey, you're supposed to go over there,
It would not be, with the exception of Captain Ratty's, it wouldn't be more than, maybe a few more steps.
Yeah.
Because they've got the hallway, whatever you call it. The back of the businesses would be just almost as close to that dumpster location as they would be to where they're dumping in my parking lot
And
now.
have a smaller dumpster for you.
Yeah, we would keep just basically paper, not even cardboard, just because it's mainly offices, there's no food in that general area. All the food comes from outside that area. And we used to have 2 dumpsters that got dumped once a week, and it was all fine to the paper. So we'd go to one smaller dumpster dump every day. And I think that would handle a chunk.
Yeah.
Ideally, if we didn't need it, it'd be great to go away.
And one position for food waste could probably help with pest management, because you'd be spraying that particular area for pests versus
Yeah, more
several
often,
dumpsters.
yeah. Michael, you had a comment or question?
I was just curious, you probably don't get the nastiness at your dumpster the way the dumpsters over at Morgan's do, right? I mean, the dumpsters at Morgan's, I mean, because I'm back there I walk back and forth every day, and 2-3 times a week, I just see food on the ground over there on those dumpsters.
Every day.
But I don't necessarily see that at your dumpster.
We clean it up every morning.
You do it every single day,
Us
and that
and,
doesn't happen
Mitchell's.
at the other one, which everyone's using that, so there's no one daily coming in to monitor.
Okay.
That's a problem.
That's our suggestion with the
Yeah.
part-timer or full-timer, who goes around and manages that area, but as well, as you had mentioned previously, picking up cigarette butts around town and kind of not
Beer
trash
bottles.
policing, if you would,
Right.
if you would say.
Well, actually, I was back there last week, 2 weeks ago, and a bag didn't make it in. It was like spaghetti, and I mean, it was like dribbling down the can. It was,
Yeah.
I mean, it was really gross.
Right, and that can
I mean,
happen with the height of the door, because you have all different shapes and sizes of people that work in restaurants, and strength qualities and not. And they can't lift it up into where it currently is. The current dumpster would have steps or a ramp to get to the fluted, or the chute, that would be easier to put in and be a little lower to the waist height to pick up that bag to put it in there.
You know, it's also possible something like that happens when they're getting the dumpster up.
And that can
That
happen
happened in our
too.
office.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
happens.
They went to go dump it, and something got hung up on something.
They
and
just-
Yeah,
Fell
and
out.
GFL's not gonna tell anybody
Stop
it's
walking
there,
when they come.
you know. And also those doors are open halfway, so if it's halfway full, or the door opens, the only way to get a bag in is to put it now twice as high over the dumpster wall, which our solution tends to maybe solve that problem.
Dave, you want to finish this? I like the idea about that, but you got a summary, I want to get this,
Well, I
got a couple
think-
more other items I want
No, I think we
I think
covered
that
it.
sums it up, yeah.
Okay, we've heard a lot of information today, and I think a lot of really good information. So what we need to do is really kind of bring it to the next level, is now pull all of these reports together into somewhat of a design, let's just say, or some kind of idea. Again, we have to get permission. We're going right now with the idea that we're going to get a trash compactor, and you're recommending that it goes in that area where those 4 parking spaces. We have your little parking area, we have your
We
design,
want a sidewalk.
yeah, with the sidewalk and everything. Foster, any idea of how we can pull this all together into some kind of drawing, or just something for us then to review, or?
Yes, and we may want to have just a
Yeah, well,
a
we
work
need another-
session.
yes, we
A
need
work
to-
session where
absolutely.
we can pull all of it together, and we can work with the chair of each ad hoc committee
Okay.
to grab their information, put it together so everyone can have something that they can
Correct.
actually look at.
Okay, that's what I would like to do, because I'm going to kind of jump, we'll get to these in a minute, but we have to, this is the last official regular meeting of the year. And in a minute, I'll give you the dates on that agenda item for the next year. So everything we would do between now and February, which would be our next regular meeting, would be via workshop. So we will, get in your mind, we're going to be having some workshops, so we can get to some kind of final design that we can then give to the aldermen to approve. Then, that still has to go the steps of, what does it cost? How do we look at this? There's many steps, but let me tell you, we are light years. I'm so proud of everybody. I thank you so much, because this has been 10 years in the making, and I'm very pleased with what I see. I think we've got some really good solutions.
It only occurred to me now, seeing our lovely audience. George, do you see anything that's been discussed that's like a red flag that you're thinking ain't no way? I mean, it's,
No, I hear you. Electric is
The
gonna
things
be,
you brought up about, are you gonna get ingress egress permission to go across these, and some legal documents always the best way to go about that. That would be the first thing at that, because that then alters your plan. If you can't go around the back end, we're back into the city footprint. The second thing would be, depending on the size of the compactor and the ability of the truck to get into service it. That is always turn radiuses. When we're talking about improved aesthetics on surfacing, we need to consider these are heavy trucks. You're going to need some kind of heavy-duty concrete for that. The bricks would probably not be appropriate, at least for the truck services when it's picking up the unit. Everywhere else it should be fine.
and some of this might be answered when we've got enough information to talk to GFL. It might be, you got no choice, you need to pick it up before 6 a.m. and you're just gonna have to back in there and pull out and, you know,
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
They might be backing up
yeah.
in that.
and doing that rather than a turn radius. To me, I was concerned about the water and the electric.
Well, and that's one thing I was going to get to. All these plans show some type of infrastructural change to the driveways, whether it's curb height, the tabletop, speed calming item, that changes elevation, so we're getting into where we have surface drainage moving. My recommendation would be sooner than later to allow us to contract a survey in there so we can find the underground utilities, we can topographic everything so we know where the drainage is going. And in that way, when, you know, we don't have something that upsets the planning because it doesn't work with the existing infrastructure.
And would you have to do that just on the city property we would survey, or would it, you have to do for all the property owners, correct?
Usually in this case, we would probably at least go to existing grade where you're getting up above any curb heights on the private property because you've got surface drainage, you've got downspouts from existing buildings. Not all of it goes into the storm inlets or pipes directly, some go surface drainage. So these are all things that if any improvements were made in there, we would not want to upset what currently works for the buildings that are in there. And there's a tremendous amount of underground infrastructure, some that is unknown and some that is known. So, you know, whatever we can do beforehand would help us keep on a budget once you get to the point to know exactly what you want to do.
I think one of your agenda items is to project proposals.
Right, well, what that is,
survey?
what that next item on it is, you know, at the last meeting, we voted that there was an online access for people in MSD to propose a project. So at our regular meetings, my question when we get to that item would be to our city manager, did we receive any, you know, so that's what.
What I was thinking was, I think it would be appropriate at this time for this committee to request the aldermen to authorize George to get that survey done.
Yeah, I agree. Does anybody else have a problem? Could you put that in the form of a motion?
Yeah, I'd like to move that we recommend to the Board of Aldermen that they authorize George
Survey of
Childs
infrastructure? Is that what it be?
Existing condition survey,
Okay.
to the extent necessary for the orderly design of the proposed improvements, something like that.
Yeah, as needed for proposed improvements.
Okay, so I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Dave seconds it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, great. Got that, Foster?
Got it.
Okay, all right.
And George, thank you for speaking well.
Yes, perfect. No, this is amazing. You all don't know what a burden I feel. This is amazing. We have done this. And is everybody still friends in this room? This is good. This is good. Okay, I'm going to move on to item number 6, the project proposal submitted. Were there any submitted?
There were none submitted.
Okay, so we had none submitted. Thank you. Now we're at the point of our regular meeting for public comment. Do we have any public comment? Anybody like to make any public comment? No? Okay, let the record show there was no public comment. Okay, approval of dates for 2025. This would be my recommendation for next year. Going back to our Tuesdays, like the third Tuesday, that was what we originally had looked at. So it would be Tuesday, February the 18th. That would be for the first quarter. For the second quarter, Tuesday, May 20th. For the third quarter, Tuesday, August 19th. And for the last quarter, Tuesday, October 21st. So I can say that again. So 2/18, 5/20, 8/19, and 10/21, all in 2025. Yes, all at noon. So if that seems okay, can I get somebody to make that motion, please?
What was the last one you said, 19?
10/21, October 21st.
I move we approve proposed schedule for 2025 regular meetings as presented.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, any opposed? Great, motion passes. Now, I would like to talk about having a work session. What do you think would be an appropriate time?
I'm sorry, just
Okay.
for clarification.
Yes.
We're going to go quarterly, but then we're going to make it in 2 months instead of 3 months from,
Now, what we do is it's once a quarter, so we have 4 regular meetings a year.
so rather than November, we're moving it back a month to October.
Well, October would be in the last quarter, so we've got,
Yeah.
October, November, December. It just seems everybody gets busy. When you get to the third week, you're almost to Thanksgiving, and so
Christmas.
October, yeah, just seemed, remember, we always used to meet in October, so.
That's fine, just want to make sure I wasn't.
But May was the 20th, correct?
Yes,
May 20th, yes, sir.
8/19?
Yes.
10/21?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great.
Yes, sir. So Foster, what do you think would be appropriate for us to come back together? I would think we want to have a survey done or, whatever. Should we kick this can down the road till?
Why don't we find out, because my goal will be to, if George can get me a quote by Tuesday, we'll bring this up at the board meeting
Okay.
to allocate funds for that. Then we'll have a conversation with whoever the survey would be to see how long it's going to take. Because
Okay.
in most instances, it's going to take 3 to 4 weeks if they can jump on something like this. So why don't we plan on just reaching out once we have some more information, then we can set a meeting.
Is everybody good about that? Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you think there'll be a quorum?
I'm always confident there's a forum in every meeting that's held.
Does anybody have any other comments or anything else they want to bring, since this is a regularly scheduled meeting, does anybody else have anything else they want to bring before this committee? I will tell you, I'm glad to see Michael Lee was on that committee, we're going to be having a land use ordinance, it's in review and there's going to be a study, what do you call it, a focus group community. I'm glad Michael Lee's on that, I'm on that as well, and it's going to be focused, our meeting on the downtown area. And I want to tell you what's really important to me as far as land use, and I would love the support of the MSD, is that I would like for all of the MSD to be in the C1, which is the highest commercial zone, the footprint of the MSD. Right now, we've got a couple of different things. Case in point, where Peacock's Plume is, that building there. Their parking lot, that's attached to that property there, is in a different zone than the building. So, because a long time ago, it was its own lot. So it's in C2. So it has different rules than the building in front of it. That doesn't make sense to me. It's a our commercial footprint, even though we do have residents, and commercial C1 allows for residents, goes from the Neuse River to Hancock Street, from the Trent River to Broad Street. And I'd like to see all of that be uniform and be C1. So I don't know how you all feel about that, but I just think that's an important part of talking to a redo of the land use, is getting that under control.
I think that makes perfect sense. The only question I would have is, there are currently some differentiation between the waterfront and the inner property and stuff. And just, that doesn't change, I think it makes perfect sense, but I want to make sure that,
That it's all, but C1 is usually the highest for commercial, doesn't have the restrictions. One of the restrictions, of course, that we had the issue with was the parking down, on South Front Street. That, was, they had restrictions, so when the Harvey opened, they were restricted to having so many parking spaces because they were not in an unrestricted zone. All of C1 is unrestricted. So it caused problems for them. So the alderman had to come and take that street out and include it. So then what happens 3 months later? Keller Williams buys the house on Middle Street, and again, they had parking requirements. That had to come out because we didn't think, okay, we should have combined it. So if we get the MSD to be uniform, I just think that would be a good thing. So that's my comment for the
So what's the difference between C1 and C2?
I can't quote it off the top. No, not necessarily. Like the bed and breakfast.
There are
or
a few
something.
uses,
Yeah.
basically.
But it
without
would
me having
help.
that front idea.
Yeah, it would
There's a
help your
list of
B and
uses
B
for
because
each.
then the parking would be waived.
there could be a lot of overlap, but
Okay, I would like to know what the difference is.
Yeah,
So-
that would
Yeah.
be discussed.
And so, as part of the land use ordinance update, and some of you are participating in focus groups, and there are also meetings where anyone can go and make an appointment with our consultant. They can cover that information with you, and you can share your thoughts on what that ideal ordinance will be moving forward. So it's a great opportunity to share all of your thoughts and concerns with the consultant.
Okay, nobody has anything else? Can I have a motion to adjourn? Sorry, we're 30 minutes over, but I did good. Okay, Michael, and a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? All right, everybody, have a great day. Enjoy this beautiful